Imagine scrolling through Instagram today. Endless pictures of avocado toast, elaborate sushi platters, and gourmet burgers. Food is everywhere. But have you ever stopped to think what a food feed might have looked like nearly 1,000 years ago? Let's travel back to the 12th century China during the Song Dynasty, a time of incredible innovation but also stark social divides. What landed on your plate back then depended entirely on who you were. Forget choosing what you felt like eating. For many, it was about choosing if you ate at all. The 12th century Song Dynasty was a golden age in many ways. Bustling cities, incredible inventions like gunpowder and movable type, and a vibrant merchant class. But beneath the surface glitter, life was drastically different depending on your social standing. And nowhere was this clearer than at the dinner table, or perhaps, more accurately, the floor mat. Let's start at the bottom, with the vast majority of the population, the poor peasants and laborers. For them, life revolved around survival, and so did their diet. The absolute cornerstone was grain. In the north, this meant millet, a hardy grain that could withstand tougher climates. Further south, rice was king, grown in flooded paddies. But this wasn't fluffy white rice. It was often coarse, brown rice, sometimes mixed with other cheaper grains or even husks to make it go further. Think basic porridge or gruel, day in, day out. Vegetables were seasonal and simple. Hardy greens, like various types of cabbage, turnips, radishes, beans, and lentils, were common. These were often boiled into a bland soup or pickled and preserved to last through lean months. Flavor was a luxury. Salt was available, but sometimes expensive. Spices, forget about it. Now here's a question that probably springs to mind. Did they ever eat meat? The answer is rarely. Protein was incredibly scarce. If you lived near a river or lake, small fish or shellfish might occasionally supplement the diet. Insects like grasshoppers were sometimes roasted and eaten, a cheap source of protein. Pork was the most common meat in China overall, but for the poor, owning a pig was a significant investment. They might taste pork fat, used sparingly for flavor in a vegetable dish, or perhaps get a tiny piece during a major festival like New Year. Eggs were a valuable commodity, more likely to be sold than eaten. For most poor people in the 12th century China, their diet was almost entirely vegetarian, not by choice, but by harsh necessity. Survival meant filling the belly with whatever bulk was available. Okay, let's climb the social ladder a bit. What about the growing middle class? This included artisans, shopkeepers, merchants, and lower-level officials. They weren't living in palaces, but they had more disposable income and stability than the peasants. Their diet reflected this moderate prosperity. They still relied heavily on grains, but they could afford better quality rice or wheat. This meant noodles, lots of noodles, wheat noodles in the north, rice noodles in the south. Steamed buns also became a regular feature. Their access to vegetables and fruits was much wider and varied according to the seasons. Think eggplants, cucumbers, melons, peaches, and plums. Here's where things get tastier. Protein became a regular part of the diet, not just a rare treat. Pork and chicken were commonly consumed. Fish was readily available in cities with good transport links, and a revolutionary food became a staple source of protein for the middle class, tofu. Made from soybeans, it was cheap, versatile, and nutritious. Eggs were no longer a luxury, but a common ingredient. Flavor also improved dramatically. Soy sauce, vinegar, and fermented bean pastes were affordable and widely used. Simple stir-fries, steamed dishes, and soups became everyday meals. In the burgeoning cities like Kaifeng and later Hangzhou, a vibrant street food culture emerged, catering specifically to this middle class. You could grab a quick bowl of noodles, a savory pancake, or a skewer of grilled meat, unimaginable luxury for the rural poor. Their diet was more balanced, more flavorful, and offered much more variety. Now, let's ascend to the dazzling heights of Song society. The imperial family, the aristocracy, high-ranking officials, and the wealthiest merchants. For them, food wasn't just sustenance, it was a statement of power, wealth, and refined taste. Forget scarcity, think abundance and extravagance. Their staple was the finest polished white rice, or high-quality wheat flour, used to create delicate dumplings, pastries, cakes, and intricate noodles. The variety of meats was astounding. While pork and chicken were still eaten, the elite dined on duck, goose, mutton, especially popular in the north, venison, pheasant, and other game. Coastal elites enjoyed a huge array of fresh and preserved seafood, crabs, prawns, oysters, and exotic fish. But here's where it gets truly decadent. Access to rare and imported ingredients, spices from Southeast Asia and beyond, pepper, cloves, cardamom, added complex flavors unknown to the lower classes. Sugar, often in the form of honey or maltose for the masses, was available in its refined cane sugar form for the rich, leading to elaborate candied fruits and sweet desserts. Did they want fresh bamboo shoots in winter or lychees out of season? Wealth could often make it happen, sometimes through preserved goods or even early forms of greenhouse cultivation for imperial courts. Cooking techniques were equally elaborate. Stir-frying, deep-frying, steaming, roasting, intricate braising methods, skilled chefs were employed to create dishes that were as beautiful to look at as they were to eat. Banquets were legendary, multi-course affairs designed to impress guests and solidify social standing. Think complex soups simmered for hours, meticulously deboned fish, meats carved into fanciful shapes, and towers of sweet delicacies. Their culinary world was one of boundless variety and refined pleasure, a stark contrast to the monotonous struggle for calories at the bottom. Of course, some things crossed social boundaries. Tea, for instance, was consumed by almost everyone, though the quality varied immensely, from basic brick tea for the poor to delicate, rare leaf teas for the connoisseurs at court. Regional differences also played a huge role. Wheat and mutton in the north, rice and seafood dominating the south. Fermented products like soy sauce and vinegar were used across the board, but again, quality and accessibility differed. So, the next time you casually order takeout or browse a packed supermarket, take a moment to remember 12th century China. What landed on your plate wasn't just about preference, it was a direct reflection of your place in the world. From the peasant's simple bowl of millet gruel to the emperor's elaborate feast, food tells a powerful story about history, society, and the enduring gap between survival and indulgence. What part of their diet surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below.